Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bright Dystopia, the Reclaimers, episode 9. Much to
through
Noir's
this.
chagrin, we'll go ahead and start with him so that Josh can have peace of mind once again.
Hello. Today, I'm playing
We cannot hear a goddamn word
Yeah.
you're saying.
Whoops! I forgot I pressed the button again. Hello, everybody. I'm Noir. Today, I'm playing Virgil, who's an ASMR rogue fighter, who's feeling a little salty right now. So we'll see how that plays out.
I believe it is me next. Hello, hi, I am O. Sarah X. Franco. I play Etienne Durand, our reforged paladin. And I think Etienne feels... that's it.
I think Etienne feels.
Etienne feels... and that's it. That's all there is to it, to my sweet robot man that I love very much. I sure hope his friend doesn't shoot him, and probably will, because Etienne's gonna be that guy. Who's next?
It's Ashamar.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Thank you. That was a fun little surprise. A treat. Thank you. Hi, I'm Ash, or Ash and Rabbit, here on Twitch and all over the internet. I am playing Yvain Nui, the human grave cleric, not named cleric because that's not what they're named here, druid person who is just beyond elated that her best buddy dagger friend is now not a knife anymore.
Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh, and don't worry, we're gonna get through this.
Cool. Neat.
I refuse!
It's okay. I'm on board.
It's been a minute
Yeah.
or a few, so let's take a second and let's remember how we all got here. So, you are all children of a city called Eudaimon, the last city as it understands itself, and you spent all your lives up to a couple weeks ago believing that everything beyond the city was a blasted, ruined hellscape, the remnants of some kind of world-destroying cataclysm that happened long ago. And the only people in Eudaimon who are crazy enough to go outside are the titular reclaimers, who go out, find cool stuff, bring it back, get cool prizes. That's how things were sold to you. You are on your first journey as reclaimers. You were sent by Eluvasrian, the wisdom of antiquities, to recover a book. You were told that it would be found somewhere near the resting place of the Sword of the Archon, and it would be found within the domain of something called the Gardener. Since then, you have traveled across the fallen world, and while bits of it have indeed been pretty ruined and blasted and lifeless and more or less lived up to expectations, in a whole lot of ways, the world has proved to be not what was promised. And after a series of adventures and misadventures, you ended up inside of the gardens, which proved to be a vast complex, this big, giant floating cylinder slowly revolving around itself. And as part of a attempt to do something about that place, you have now gone through a portal onto another world, a small tropical island, and there you went into a facility where you found a chamber, and inside of that was a guy. He was very old. He pretty swiftly died, but not before saying a few words to Yvain's pet bird. That bird then turned into a person, into a drake, and the guy then died. And Noir was very mad that the Sword of the Archon turned out to be a person and not a sword. And so when we begin, set the scene again, This chamber this was a very big, cold place. It was full of all these like stone sarcophagi. Some of them were broken apart. A few of them still seem to be functioning in some way. The back, like half of this chamber, is full of something that Keening called an engine, and it was this weird shifting thing where it sort of was dark and shapes that were constantly changing. I mean, it almost looked like reality itself couldn't decide what it wanted to be, and this thing was just kind of, looking at it too long started to make your head hurt. But Keening has vanished and been replaced by a drake standing in front of this sarcophagus, and she slowly reaches up a hand, which is kind of trembling at first, sort of as though she's, not used to having hands, but she eventually figures it out enough to put a hand on the face of the guy in the sarcophagus and rest it there. She pulls his eyes closed and in Drax says, "Sleep well, master, sleep well." And that's where we begin.
If I recall correctly, we noticed something under the body or something around.
Behind it, I'm
Yes,
pretty sure.
You noticed that there was a compartment behind the body that was closed, but it looked like it would be pretty, like you could just kind of put a finger in and pull and it would like release a panel. Although you would have to move the body to get at it.
I am going to attempt such.
Excellent. So Keening is standing in the way, and she's a drake now, so she's like 7 feet tall.
Okay.
And much like the other drake you met before, Memory, instead of having scales that are like red or blue or gold or silver, hers are kind of translucent and see-through and reflective. They kind of naturally blend in with her surroundings, which currently she's standing in the dark, so that they're just kind of dull gray. And she is wearing a cloak that is all bright colors and full of feathers, reminiscent of the bird she previously was. But she is very much in her way, so like if you wanted to get at this thing, you're either going to have to like slip between her legs or like push her out of the way. I mean, you could try to be ginger about it, That's going to be a question of dexterity.
Move her out of the way. Just move.
That's
So if you try to push on her, she's not going to move. She's just going to look at you, like kind of glare down at you.
I tap on her
Just go-
scales.
Just go
That's
look
not a
at her.
knife.
Move or be moved. I don't mind either way.
For a second, she's just glaring down at you. And then she steps back, maybe a pace away, and then she kind of forcefully stands with her arms at her side and reaches out with a hand, and the body in the sarcophagus starts floating out, and then it rotates, and it's as if the guy's being carried in across two arms, but he's just floating there.
All right.
And then she just turns and starts walking away with the body in front of her.
All right. I will investigate what this little contraption or this little nook contains.
Okay. That's going to be an investigation.
Ew. Okay. Hold on. I think I have a thing for that. Eye for detail. Oh, it just means I can do it faster. All right, never mind.
Still cool though.
Okay, that's dirty 20.
Okay. For a second, I thought you said 30-20, and I was.
No, dirty 20.
So 50.
We're doing new math.
20.
Dirty 20.
This
Okay.
ain't your dad's D&D.
So
That
as
weird math where you have to like draw graphs and shit.
far-
Have you seen that? Never mind.
so as far as you can tell, there's it's like the whole back of this thing is like a false back, and there's an area where it's kind of like a recessed handle that is kind of on a hinge you could pretty easily pull out, but there is writing along the outside written in Drax, and it says, "Here lies the gifts of the Archon. Woe betide the unworthy who would seek to wield them."
Sounds good to me. Crack it open.
Okay. Where is everyone else standing at the moment?
Oh no.
Probably peering over Virgil's shoulder, hemming and hawing between the glass dragon that just walked away with a body and kind of doing this, but still peeking and trying to keep eyes on both, but definitely like within like arm's reach of Virgil.
Etienne would be further back, like we dropped down.
Mhm.
And if Keening has moved away, Etienne has probably put himself between Keening and Virgil, just as like a, not anything like antagonistic, but just sort of mentally like this
Mhm.
could get weird. But he'd be further back.
Okay. And so Keening only went a few paces away, and then she set the body down, and she started then, crossing the arms over the chest and kind of straightening out his clothes. And
Yvain's already there, like helping with that. This is what she
Okay.
does. So she's just like, I know how to do this, right?
so everybody except for Yvain, there is when Virgil pulls open the latch, all of those symbols light up, and there is a sudden rush of energy, and everybody needs to make a con save, except for Yvain, because you're far enough away.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
Sorry.
My favorite
I got
one.
an 8.
Okay.
Oh, right. I turned off hardware acceleration, so this is going to take an hour. Hold on. Die is rolling. Still rolling. 18.
18. Okay. And what did Virgil get?
18.
18. Okay. So all of you are paralyzed.
Oh shit.
And in Virgil's case, that means you kind of, because you're reaching for it and you're kind of pretty quickly you fall over and you're kind of just on the ground, kind of, you'd be sort of kneeling over to look at the thing. Everybody, the other two sort of keep their feet for a minute. But yep, you're just frozen there. And Keening pauses in her work, looks back at you guys, goes back to what she was doing. But after a few seconds, she gets up. She walks over to the sarcophagus, being careful not to knock anyone over. And in fact, Casimir, you were starting to tumble, and as she passes, she kind of just flicks her fingers, and it's as if someone put their hands on the side of you and like stabilized you. And then she kneels down at the sarcophagus and pulls the door open without issue. And Virgil, you can just barely like crane your eyes up from the ground to see that there are definitely some shiny things in there, looking very bright and fancy and expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything at the moment still. And Keening reaches in there and she pulls out a smooth stone on which is carved the symbol of the Archon, the 5-pointed star inscribed inside of a circle, and it's glowing softly. And she holds that close, and then there's kind of a soft pulse through the air, and you can all move again.
Okay. I'm going back to it.
Jesus Christ, Virgil. Virgil,
Keening
maybe
is
take
Keening is now standing in the way,
Mhm.
and she looks at you, and she looks at the stuff in the sarcophagus. She looks back at you. She reaches into the sarcophagus, and she pulls out a short sword, flips it in her hand so she's holding the blade, and she hands it to you and says, "This seems more your speed." And I should note that this short sword, I call it a blade, but it basically looks like a giant tooth.
from.
Something really big with big teeth.
But is it like an apex predator tooth or like a giant molar?
Ew.
I mean, it's a sword, so clearly it's like a canine.
Okay.
It's a sharp, pointy tooth.
Be really
And
weird.
It'll
she's-
be like a
Teeth.
hammer. if
Like
it's
a
molar.
long 4-pointed crown of a
Gross.
tooth.
And she's holding it out to you.
That's so gross.
Horrific.
He's holding it out to Virgil.
To Virgil. She said, "This
Oh.
seems more your speed."
I think he'll take it. He just kind of look it over.
And she says, "That's Wormfang. Hold it close and think of the shape you'd like it to take, and it will."
I gotta roll to see if he can think of anything other than killing her.
I hate this.
Yeah, it's good. All right,
And
you
to-
think? Oh, go ahead.
I'll say, to be clear, so this can take the shape of any weapon you want.
Mm-hmm.
It counts as a +2 weapon. It lets you make an extra attack per round, and it inflicts an extra 2d4 radiant damage per hit.
Oh my
Jesus
god.
Christ. You know, hold it in your teeth while you draw your bow.
So
Sick.
that's what it can do. She then goes back into the compartment, and she pulls out a little golden brooch that is in the shape of a shield, and she walks over to Etienne, and Etienne's wearing armor, right?
Etienne, yes, like
Is
Were
there
you
like
gonna
a,
say Etienne is armor? Because I feel like that's the
Etienne
vibe you were
is
just
armor.
about to say.
yes, like Etienne is armor, and like everybody would have seen this over time, but like every
Yeah.
time Etienne was injured, and like there was the little nanobots kind of pulling back together, like
Mhm.
there's still flesh and scarring, but it's
Right,
very much
okay.
embedded in him.
So does he wear any kind of like tabard over top? Does he wear any kind of
He's got
is
his
there
eagle thing,
something
right?
to stick the brooch onto is my
Yes,
question.
he has a cape, that's like black on the out, like, and then red underneath.
Okay.
So and it comes over. So there's fabric coming down, to connect it to. Certainly.
Okay. So she takes this brooch and she pins it onto the front of your cloak, and you can immediately feel like the power in this thing. And she says it's the brooch of the stalwart sentinel. And she says it's infused by the spirits of that ancient order. And what this does is your melee attacks inflict an additional 2d4 points of force damage when you hit. Once per turn, you can reroll one of your attack rolls, and you gain one additional use of channel divinity.
Holy shit. Okay, so melee gets 2d4 force damage. Reroll one attack per turn.
And plus one
And
channel
one-
divinity.
Okay, thank you.
It's attack per turn. Holy
I-
overpowered Batman.
Jesus.
As Etienne feels that and looks at it, he will come to attention and give a curt bow before like they'll just his face. It's like a grimace. Thank you, Keening. This is a great gift. I'm sorry for you. And he looks over. I'm sorry that we couldn't do more.
She kind of nods a silent acknowledgement to that. She goes back to the sarcophagus. She pulls out a breastplate, and it looks weird. You can't quite tell from looking at it if it's metal or if it's cloth. It almost looks liquid at times. And when she's holding it, it looks really heavy. And she takes it over to Casimir. And she, I just had the image of her like putting it over your head like you'd put a shirt on a toddler. But
God damn it.
But what she actually does is she just kind of puts it in front of you, and the back of it becomes liquid and just kind of around you, and then forms around you, and on you it's like impossibly light. It's as if you're wearing nothing at all. And she says, we all thought it. She says it's called the Midnight Cuirass, and it gives you an AC of 16 plus your Dex modifier. It's treated as light armor for any rules purposes. Doesn't apply any penalties to your stealth checks. While you're wearing this armor, all of your weapon attacks deal 2d4 points of psychic damage per hit, and any spell you cast that deals psychic damage inflicts bonus damage equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. And then as an action, while wearing the armor, you can embrace the void. Doing so creates an exact shadowy duplicate of yourself, standing adjacent to you. The duplicate endures for 10 minutes or until it is reduced to 0 hit points. The duplicate is an extension of you. You and the duplicate draw upon the same pool of spells known and spell slots, but each of you takes your own turn in combat, acting on the same initiative count. You and the duplicate you could both cast spells in the same turn, for example, but that would use up the same, like you only have one set of spell slots. Mm-hmm. The twin is immune to psychic damage and vulnerable to radiant damage. It cannot be healed or otherwise recover lost hit points by any means. But otherwise, you got a double.
Do we share concentration?
No.
Ooh.
Oh, fuck.
And last of all, she goes back to the sarcophagus and she pulls out a staff. And it is a like ruler straight staff of pearly white wood, capped on both ends by iron that has been burned black. I guess is just cast iron, really. And she brings this over and offers it to Yvain. And she says, "This is the staff of the mother. And this is a staff that attunes the bearer to Ashura herself and allows you to wield the power of Sunfire. And what this does, while you have the staff equipped and attuned, you know the Firebolt cantrip, because you couldn't have known that already, right?
Don't think so.
Now you do.
Hell yeah.
You also know the following spells and always have them prepared, and they don't count against your normal limit of spells prepared: Burning Hands, Scorching Ray, Fireball, and Wall of Fire.
Oh my god.
And then whenever you cast a spell that inflicts fire damage, that spell is composed of Sunfire and inflicts additional damage equal to your spellcasting modifier. Sunfire ignores fire resistance entirely, and targets who have fire immunity take half damage from Sunfire. Because it's like special double fire.
Special double fire.
Special double fire. Now you have to say it every time you do the move.
Special double fire.
It's your anime attack.
It's your anime attack.
It's like some Dragon Ball shit. I'm here for it. Oh my god.
Special double fire.
And with that, she goes back and kneels by the dead body and continues to help prepare it. You know, you've all got new stuff. Now to head off, what I know Virgil's going to do, he's going to look inside there to see if there's more stuff.
Maybe.
Actually, Casimir's gonna
You got
lean
any
over
more-
to Virgil and
Got
be like,
any more of that good treasure?
leaning over to Virgil, Casimir's gonna be like, "Is anyone else tempted to open the rest of these caskets, or is it just me?"
That'll be a bad idea, mate. But first, I am looking in this tomb. I am looking for something very particular.
Okay.
I'm looking for
So,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for like a strand of hair from this dude, or just something that came from him.
Well, yeah, there's hair in there, I guess. I didn't think about that, but there's totally hair.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take a little bit of that.
Okay. Also, so within the back compartment, there's some miscellaneous stuff. Most of it's broken and worn down. But you do find an iron amulet in which is stamped the symbol of the Archon.
I will
I love you, Noir. This is great. Just I will be taking
That's
that.
coming with me.
It's got my name written all over it.
Friend.
And then at the very bottom, buried beneath a bunch of other stuff,
Hmm?
you find a book.
Ooh.
And it is a plain leather-bound volume. And when you open it, flipping through the pages, it's a bunch of handwriting, written in a language that you don't know. But the very first page has something written in Drax in neater, more intentioned characters. And it looks like someone went over these letters several times, you know, kind of scratching each letter very dark. And it says, "The worlds are not hers."
I need to rip that page up, but we'll see.
Casimir will pluck the book from Virgil's hands. There's no pictures in this one, so I'll look it over. And just start thumbing through the pages as we're standing there.
Look, you're very lucky that I like you. All right. Well, you got what we came here for, I'd imagine. And unless you all want to give us time to start opening up the rest of these tombs, I'm guessing we best start going.
What's where do we go from here exactly? This seems
As a reminder, you came here with Eris. She's the elf lady with the bow. And when you all went downstairs, she was going into the portal room to start like powering things up. And
Yep.
Oh shit!
because the
that's
plan
right.
was to go through the portal to then like, because you guys at one point in the gardens,
Yeah.
and the backrunners told you, well, you can go through the portal, you can go there, and you can come back, and then you can get to like,
Correct. We kind of diverted.
yeah.
Etienne, we took the elevator down. So he's going to, is Keening still with, Zeno?
She is. I forgot I said his name.
Mhm. You said a lot of stuff, buddy, and I take notes.
they don't go past her. She writes it
Story of
down.
my life. So Keening is currently, she's kneeling beside Zeno's body, and she has her hands on her legs, and she's head bowed, eyes closed, just kind of in solemn contemplation.
I'm
She
assuming
will. She
Yvain-
will have said to Yvain, she will have thanked you for offering to attend him. And she said it's my duty to see he gets the burial he deserves, and it will be done. But maybe a little later, I'll tell you something to put in your book.
Yeah, Etienne's gonna go over. I'm assuming Yvain's nearby.
Mhm.
Is the business finished?
As finished as it can be right now.
We are not done yet in this place. Keening, I'm sorry. Will you attend with us, or are you staying?
Keening opens her eyes, looks up at you all. She gets to her feet, and then she kind of waves her hand, and Zeno's body starts floating before her. And she says, "I've one duty left to see to him, and then it's on to the gardens." And then she starts floating up into the air, and the body is floating beside her. And she's just levitating her way up and out.
Etienne will...
And she'll say, "I'll meet you in the portal room."
Yep. Etienne will turn to the others and take a hand off the hilt of his sword now that Keening has kind of left the room, and is... I intend to head back. I know that there might be other... I will not tell you what to do. And he'll turn on his heel and move towards the elevator. But our quest isn't done. And he's gonna get on the elevator and give it probably like... do the like impatient dad at the car kind of vibe. But he won't wait too terribly long before sending her on up.
I think Yvain's right behind him. Like her eyes would have just been like following Zeno and Keening as they just like randomly ascended through this chamber. She's not used to bodies leaving her prior to them being completely done and buried, so that's like her priority is making sure her friend's okay. And where the fuck is the body going?
Yeah, if anybody like tries to follow Keening, she won't stop them. She's just doing her thing. So
Cool. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you say you were going after her, or you were just on the ladder or the elevator?
Elevator, I think.
Okay. Is anybody staying down here? Or is everybody going up?
Yeah, that's what you do.
I think Cass will head up. No, he'll head up. He'll hem and haw for a moment. There'll be like a second where he thinks about, like, he'll reach for like another casket and then stop, and like kind of like there's like a hesitation there, and he like shakes his head and just starts to climb back up.
Virgil, why don't you give me a wisdom save?
Wisdom save. That is 21.
21. Okay. You feel a sudden but fleeting desire to step around the sarcophagi and to look more closely at the engine. It's not a compulsion, but it's suddenly very interesting.
I'ma do it.
Okay. So you look at the engine, and again, it at first glance, it looks just like a big like metal boiler with a bunch of like smaller pipes and tubes and gears that aren't currently moving, but it only takes a few seconds before bits of it just start changing. You know, 1 minute a pipe is going this way and then it's going that way, and the shadows all around it seem to be moving, and it's something about it is fascinating, and you want to keep looking at it. And then all of a sudden you hear a sound like someone taking a very long breath out, as if something very large was breathing out. And as if the breath had been held in for a very long time. And then this room has been very cold the whole time, but a wave of warmth washes over you, kind of warmth and humid air. And then there is a sensation, very soft, almost gentle, like someone had just sort of wrapped a bit of silk around your head and squeezed on it ever so tightly. And among the sort of strange groanings and shiftings and hissings of the room, you think you hear a voice speaking. And at first it's speaking languages you don't know. And the language seems to be changing. And then it says in Drax, "Let me in."
Oh, shit.
Nope.
Fuck.
What
What
do
is
you
your-
do?
What is your aim? He's gonna ask it.
And what language are you speaking?
Drax.
Drax, okay. I should be clear. Those of you in the elevator, it's like going up. You don't hear any of this.
Right.
There's a quickening in the air around you, Virgil, and there's a lot more warmth. And now it's almost like you're standing close to like a big bonfire. And the sensation around your head gets a little tighter, a little stronger, and the voice that's sort of mixed into the background sounds of the room says, "Let me in. I need to know what you are."
Who are you?
And the voice just says again, "Let me in." And now you have to make a wisdom save.
Okey-dokey. That is a 17.
Okay. So there is a very brief but very intense moment of burning white hot pain where it's an instant of total sensory overload. Your eyes flash white. It's as if someone's screaming in your ears. Every single nerve feels like someone is just like ripping your skin off, but then it's done. And you're on your knees now, but you feel fine. In fact, you've rarely felt better. And everything is fine. Everything is peaceful. Everything that's ever been wrong in your life is about to be fixed. And out of the shifting, irregular darkness of the engine, you spot a single bead of white light. And it's moving closer to you. And as it's getting closer, it's getting bigger. And it spreads and expands into the shape of a woman made of light, wearing flowing robes with long golden hair billowing behind her. She walks up to you. She puts her hands on the sides of your face, lifts you to stand on your feet. And she's much taller than you. And you notice that she is wearing an amulet, the symbol of the Archon upon it. But there's something about this symbol. It's different than every other time you've ever seen this marking. And somehow you know in your bones that it's because every other time you've seen this symbol, it's been a copy. It's a representation of something. But what's in front of you now is the thing itself. And as this person guides your eyes up to meet with yours, you know in the depths of your soul that you are looking into the eyes of the Archon herself.
My God.
I think he's gonna start welling up and just go, I've been so alone. Yes. Yes. What I have is yours.
She raises, she takes one finger, comes up, and just kind of dabs at your tears. And then that hand kind of brushes back through your hair. And she says, well done, my devoted servant. Well done indeed. And then she puts a hand around that amulet and squeezes it. And there is a sudden rush of warmth and light onto you. And where that amulet had before been just plain old metal, now it's almost humming with just power like you've never felt. And she says, heady days lie before you. The time of awakening is at hand. If you carry my sign, you cannot falter. And where you go, you will never again be denied my voice. When the time comes, I will tell you what must be done. But know this. The gardens are the seed of renewal. They must not fall. And with that, she vanishes in a puff of light, and the engine at the back of the room seems somehow calmed and dormant and almost like an ordinary bit of machinery. And the only lingering sign that any of this happened at all is a fading feeling of warmth on your cheeks and the hum of the amulet around your neck.
I think with that, he's just gonna take a deep breath to get himself together, and there is just like a new certainty in him, and he's gonna make his way up to join the party.
As you're walking, your eyes glance momentarily at the sarcophagus where Zeno had been, and you hear the Archon's words in your head. And it's as if you can kind of feel a presence like coming up beside you, as if like someone just kind of walked up next to you, and as if her words are forming like right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, there I laid to rest the last of my swords, the greatest of my disappointments. Perhaps you can be the first of a new batch.
I will not fail you, and I will not falter.
So everyone else, you had an elevator ride. And you get to the top, and what do you do when you get to the top?
Cass is casting a spell. It's going to take him a few minutes, though.
Okay.
Evane's following Keening. And
okay.
I know she said, meet me in the portal room, but she doesn't
Yeah.
care. She's following.
Yeah, so out front, you see Keening. Oh, right. You guys got down here by, like, teleporting. I forgot about that. Okay. So she is going to... It's fine. She is sort of standing in the area where you guys popped in. and she's got that stone in her hand, and she sees you and then kind of waves you over, and then when you get over to her, she looks down at the stone. There's a flash of light, and you're back on the beach. And she sort of just she again, she has the stone in hand, and Zeno is floating in front of her, and she walks to the shore, and she slowly lowers the body. She kind of wades out into the water a good ways until the water is like chest high on her, and then she deposits Zeno into the water and lets the tide carry him away. She stands in the water for a moment before turning and walking back. And here you get a really good sense of how, the parts of her that are out of the water and are against the sky, like her scales kind of change the matching color, and the ones that are underwater are kind of dark to match. And you sort of watch the camouflage effect go to work as she walks back out of the water. And then she walks over back beside you, and she's holding onto the stone. And then quietly she says, "He was a son of Enora. It's fitting he should be here at his end." Turns to the world sea from which he sprang. Then she kind of just looks over out at the horizon. Just the vast sea spreading in all directions.
This is very common here with water burials, as there's not much land.
It's certainly how Salters prefer to be buried. And he was, before he was anything else, that's what he was.
Beautiful, for what it's worth. I've never seen anything like this, but you know where I hail from, so very different.
Yeah, I suppose you've never seen a funeral that had a body involved.
Not really. No.
Well, we shouldn't tarry too long. She kind of squeezes the stone, and then you're back inside.
Can we also talk about how you were just a dagger and a bird, and now you're this? Are we just not going to address that at all? Is that just going to be something we glance over entirely?
She kind of looks down. And kind of coming to grips with it myself, truth be told. Long and the short of it is, a long, very long time ago, this was me. And I was a glaive, and I served the Archon, and eventually I displeased her. So she made me into a bird. Much as it was, a bird that could turn into a dagger, because she never wanted me to forget what I am, ultimately.
Poetic.
It's the reason they called us glaives.
Hmm.
And I served in that capacity. I was the familiar to a whole series of masters. And he was the last and the best of them. And when he displeased the Archon, she shoved us into different sarcophagi, and you found me when you found me. Obviously, we just found him.
Right. My question now is that now that you have returned to your original form, will you age normally now? Is that different? Do you have an expiry date? Now, I'm purely curiosity and then also concern. That's mostly where that's coming from, if that isn't entirely obvious.
Yeah, I suppose you haven't ever known many true-blooded drakes. We don't We don't get old.
Lucky you.
One way to look at it, I suppose.
It's also a shame. Death is a beautiful thing. I'm sorry that it's not really a... I don't know, there's no very well guarantee with age and all that.
No, indeed. But I expect our friend in the portal room is going to start looking for us if we don't get back soon.
Yes, sorry, we can walk and talk, it's fine.
Meanwhile, I assume Cass and Etienne. God, that was weird.
She took the glasses
thinking-
off, that's why.
I kept thinking
sorry.
I kept thinking Henry.
Yeah.
I don't
Henry?
with anything. But anyway,
I know Cass was casting a spell. Was
Yes,
it one
that's
of
right.
like? Did he look very involved?
Yeah, it's like a whole thing. He's got like a charcoal circle that he's drawn. It's in a large shape. It looks about like it extends 5 feet beyond his reach in every direction. But it's going to take him about 10 minutes to finish. So if you've got something, by all means.
Yeah, it would have if you like announced it all, or if you just kind of like walked in and started doing
Just started.
your thing in the main portal room, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
in the
yeah,
portal room or in the main like.
Oh, in like the larger
Vestibule.
area because I'll need space
Okay.
for it. The portal room, I
Yeah.
imagine, is much smaller.
Also, the portal room has like a metal grated flooring, so you couldn't really draw a charcoal
Okay.
circle.
So you're doing that in a place that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Etienne would kind of hesitate, I think. Like, all right, like you're doing your thing. Okay, cool. And he would power forward to the portal room.
Okay.
And would probably wait it out there with, and remind me her name again.
Eris.
Eris, thank you.
Yeah, so when you get in there, Eris is looking very frustrated because she can't figure out how to make the portals work. And when you arrive in there, she's basically like pounding her hands on the side of the control panel, looking very upset.
All right. Don't break it. What seems to be, what's wrong?
And she looks at you briefly, and you can tell she's been crying. And as a reminder, everybody she cares about is
Yes.
dead now. So you know.
Yes. And he kind of has his hands out, and when he sees that she's crying, he'll put his hands up again. Apologies. I didn't mean it. Of course you're upset. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be dismissive.
She kind of just slumps back on the ground where she is, and she's kind of kneeling there, arms loose at her side, and just kind of mumbles, "Can't get it to turn on."
Can't turn on.
Portals. Everywhere else, it's just you just tap it. You just. It's locked down or something.
Etienne's gonna awkwardly look back towards the hall where he assumes the party is going to be joining at some moment, though Cass seemed to be doing an art project.
Yeah, and
so
Keening and Yvain aren't
Yeah.
back just yet.
So Etienne's gonna
And Virgil,
Walk-
for the record, is riding the elevator.
yeah,
Or
Etienne's
flying,
gonna-
I guess, if you wanted to.
right. I imagine that this is kind of in synchronization with all
Yeah.
these other conversations, but he'll walk over to Eris and crouch down in front of her with a heavy sigh that there'll be creaks and groans from his different mechanical parts. And I think we've got a minute before the others join us. So perhaps it would be best if we just take a moment.
Yeah, Eris just kind of, she kind of wipes the tears away from her eyes and says, I never believed this Beckoner shit. Lachesis thought it was real, but I just went where she went. I mean, Xanthopy was a good person. I was happy to help her out, but all of this, everything I've seen of the worlds, the idea that there's some person just waiting to come back and fix everything, I could never believe that.
It's hard to believe things could be that simple. I understand.
It should be one of them who's still around. At least they'd know what to do.
When she says that,
pinches her lips closed and starts, kind of.
Yeah,
She's holding back further tears and.
Yeah, he will put his hand out onto her shoulder, and like, as reassuring as Etienne can.
She kind of flinches at first because Etienne's all robotic-y.
Mm-hmm.
But then she kind of accepts the gesture and just kind of kneels there and cries for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Etienne will just let her cry, and just occasionally softly, like, it's all right. As she kind of has a moment, and he'll just be there to validate that, I guess.
And then after a bit, she kind of stifles the tears. She just starts saying a bunch of names quietly under her breath.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually near the end, she says Xanthopy, and then the last one she says is Lachesis. And then she says in Elven, I am your vengeance. It will be done. And then she kind of like takes a breath, kind of composes herself, and then she's just like stony faced and stoic and focused, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no more tears, there's no more trembling. She just kind of stands up and looks back at the control panel, and starts fiddling with it again.
Mm-hmm. Etienne will, as she stands up to fiddle, he will take a minute before he stands, roll his shoulders back, and he'll start rubbing his thumb across the signet ring that he has, and quietly to himself in Elvish, I am your vengeance, before stepping to the side and waiting for everybody else to come in.
Okay. So at this point, Keening and Yvain pop back into the main room, just as Virgil is reaching up top. And Cass, it's been 10 minutes, so your silliness can finish.
Which is great, because Virgil arriving at the top, he'll kind of like finish drawing on the floor and just put his hands on his hips and kind of stare at his work. Didn't think I'd have to bring this back out, but everything feels rather final lately. And about you, Virgil?
Feeling better than I have in a very long time.
That's good for that then, at least, I guess. I guess we're waiting to get into the portal room, so let's not dilly-dally. And he'll kind of like nudge the piece of the last roll of the chalk into the circle, and the circle kind of opens up this hole in the ground. And from out of the hole, these clawed hands kind of grab onto the ledge of it and pulls itself up. There are these long, kind of like wrinkled skin in dark charcoal color, with long talons that kind of clack onto the edge, and it pulls itself out. The body is covered in like these dark gray, almost ash-colored feathers with white trim. The face of it has kind of a splash, almost as if it's dunked its face, with white on the front, and a black beak. Wings that are kind of extending out behind it, 4 limbs in front of it. This really ugly looking griffin kind of pulls itself up out of the ground, and as soon as all of its legs are free, the coal kind of like sucks back up. Well, this will make things interesting. Never gave it a name though, did I?
Well, it's not too late. Are you gonna name it?
You know, this thing is supposed to be a reflection of me. I think a good name for it will be Justin.
Oh, that's spelled C-H-R-I-S, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, in the traditional sense.
Yes. Full circle, baby.
Castle,
Okay.
Castle, I've got you for a moment here. I just, you know, before it was the others, it was just you and me.
Alright.
It might come down to that again at some point.
Yeah. I've been kind of prepared for that since we left, after that first encounter. Although, more realistically, Virgil, you may want to prepare yourself for this likely scenario that it may be you and Yvain, or you and Etienne. Might be a good
Prepare.
idea to break bread and mend bridges with them before that happens.
They're set in their ways. But I know now that I'm on the right track. And I see them at some point getting in the way. And I need to know if that moment were to happen. Where'd you stand, friend?
I shouldn't have to explain that you've been something of a family member to me since we both grew up without one.
No, that is just a worry.
Yeah, you know, I'll always have your corner, Virgil. Right or wrong, I'm on
Well,
your
to that-
side.
Look to that end, brother. I spoke to her just now. The Archon.
You spoke to the Archon?
Clear as day.
When did you speak to the Archon?
When all of you left, I was going to follow, but I felt something. I felt something in that room. A presence, a warmth. And I went poking around. And I saw her. I let her in. And she told me that she laid those failures to rest. Those betrayers. Liars. Like Caning.
Do you see the Archon in the room right now, Virgil?
No. I wasn't seeing things. She was there.
In the back of your head, Virgil, one word. Careful.
All right. Well, if you say you spoke to her, what did she say?
Careful.
I can't rightly tell you, but it was her. And she confirmed that I'm on the right track and that I'm a true believer. And everyone else has abandoned her. I've stayed true. That I could be I could be the sword of the Archon.
Is it what you want to be? Sword?
Yes. I felt her power. I felt her truth. Her warmth.
I'd always thought that given the way that you treat Keening, that being a sword would be the last thing you'd want to do.
What good is a sword that doesn't uphold its duty? Gaining like the rest of them walked away. They swore an oath and then they broke it. I won't.
And right at this moment is when Keening and Yvain pop back into that room. So they weren't there before. Slight tweak there.
Virgil's just
So-
gonna give Casta like, this is just us. Like, conversation over.
Are we ready then? Oh, I guess introductions. Say hi to Justin.
Keening just kind of looks at it.
Does it understand us? Is my question to you.
Yeah. Yeah, understand is an interesting. Griffins have a way of reading people,
Okay.
without necessarily understanding. They see your intentions.
What is your intention with this griffin?
Oh, well, he's my steed, for lack of a better phrase.
In here? Do you need help walking? Are you okay?
Well, no, but if we're traveling again, you never know.
Right. But what if we have to go underwater even more? Just throwing that one out there. I can only
sure.
carry
Well,
so many things as an octopi.
right.
That was a joke. Never mind. That's a really bad one.
I guess I hadn't thought about it. I suppose if we needed to, I have a method for getting him to be a bit more amphibious in nature.
I regret
I'll
asking.
have to
this
consult
question.
with my team about it.
It's never mind. It's fine. Sorry, curiosity killed the cleric. No, that's not my name. What? Druid fucking
Well, it's
Tribune.
complicated.
Tribune.
but
Thank you, fucking brain.
I do have a consultant team that I usually. It's not come up before. I don't usually.
So Keening is looking back and forth between the two of you and just shakes her head and walks into the portal room.
You know what? Let's follow the not bird, not dagger Drake. How's that?
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect.
Keening. Do we still call you Keening if you're not, sharp?
I already got through the portal, mate.
No, just into the room. She looks back and says, Keening will be fine.
Right.
I'm gonna
And-
stick a pin in that because I want to know your goddamn name.
And so she walks into the portal room. Eris, has a brief freak out because she doesn't recognize this person.
It's all right. It's all right, Eris. It's all right. Sorry. This seems other important. This is Keening, Eris. It's all right.
Old friend. Yes, all right.
And then Keening walks towards the control panel in the center of the room with that stone in her hand. And immediately everything in the room starts coming alive. The panel starts powering up. You hear sounds of big things in the background starting to move. There's a humming coming inside the different portals, and there's just kind of a staticky tension in the air. What's everyone else in the vestibule doing? You guys coming in? Is the Griffin gonna try to come in?
Yeah, the Griffin's gonna try to. Justin's gonna join us.
Okay.
Fucking damn it.
So is everybody? Is everybody? Once everybody is in there, Keening looks around, and she sort of steps back more towards the outer edges of the room, still with that stone in hand. Looks at everybody and says, "Well, I guess it's time to plan our next steps." And with kind of a twist of her wrist that has the stone in the hand, there's suddenly just sort of a burst of light from a bunch of different places in the ceiling. And at first, they're just kind of shooting like sheets of light that just seem like they're not doing anything. But as they hit each other, then images and shapes start to form, and all of a sudden, you're looking at a giant cylinder floating in the air. The projection is maybe like 9 feet long, and it's just slowly rotating there. And Keening says, "Behold the gardens."
What is our intent? Do we find the gardener and put an end to it? Must we destroy the place?
Eris says we find him and we kill him. We cut out the heart of this rot.
And from there it will end. It'll be done. There's no replacing it.
Keening says, "That's a very good question, and that's the exact reason I've woken the Oracle. I think it's important we get a view of the world we'd be going into before we simply jump our way in." And then she says, "Show me the interior. Give me a full view." And the image sort of, it's as if the gardens kind of unfold and lay flat. And while before the image had been this sort of wireframe thing, gradually, bit by bit, the interior that's being revealed starts filling in. And if you look, it's all in miniature, but it all looks like almost as if you were like floating above it and looking down. Like you see trees, you see areas, you see large bodies of water. And then you also just see like almost all of it is covered in all those monsters and monstrosities that you fought thus far. And the only area there's only 2 areas that don't look fully, completely corrupted. One is an area off to sort of back on one side. And that looks somewhat familiar to the area where you guys were previously. The other is at the complete opposite end of the interior. And there is just this big obsidian castle. And there's all sorts of corruption, but it like stops like a few yards from the base of the thing. And just there's like, normal grass and then the obsidian walls, and there's just this big tower standing there.
To my knowledge, does killing the gardener hurt the garden?
You don't know that definitively.
Okay.
But in your head, the voice says, "No sudden moves, nothing hasty. Follow along, play along."
As will it. Just
Um,
along with everyone.
And so Keening is continuing to sort of, she then, throughout all this, she's kind of like manipulating that stone in her hand, and it seems to be guiding the sort of image and the projection and the creation of things. And then she tells the Oracle in Drax to flag all aberrant signals. And very quickly, there's like little glowing green markers, and they start little peppering up everywhere. But then pretty soon, all the sort of like overgrown, gross areas are glowing green. And it's just those two spots that are not. There's also one area you can spot where there's an area that's just been completely burned away. The whole ground is just this big wide area. It's just completely charred and blackened. But even as you're looking at it, you can see like the green corruption starting to re-overtake that area. And Eris actually walks forward because the whole projection is kind of rotated now, so it's kind of like facing towards you guys. And she walks up and kind of like puts a hand on that projection of the burned area before stepping back and, standing straight and looking at the thing.
Etienne will move over to where there's that obsidian castle and point at it. Is this where we need to be?
And Keening says, I suppose that depends what your intentions are, but likely so. I'm interested in... Oracle, give me a full read of the superstructure. And the image kind of sharpens, and the kind of just wireframe color background starts filling in, and you can see it's just kind of like it's just metal, but there's like you can kind of spot there are areas that are like hallways and chambers and like inner workings, and even areas that almost look like the place you just were, but in miniature, where you see like the weird blurred shadows of engines. And Keening says, well, my read and applied etherics was never my forte. Gardener's corruption has taken over basically everything except the area the Beckoners were protecting. They're gone now, so that won't last. And it hasn't taken over the superstructure of the facility, nor the Palace of the Archon. Leads me to believe that the old wards are still active.
What does this mean for us? Can we pass them?
We can. We can portal our way anywhere inside here you'd like to go. I can see, and she's kind of looking around, and as she kind of gestures her hand, the image kind of moves and flips around. There are 2 void ships docked currently. Gardens have berths for 20. So they must have some way of getting down to them, even if they can't keep a constant hold upon it, but... You'll notice there's no center point to this corruption.
Aye.
There's no middle, no seed, no heart. Says, Oracle, do you have archived views of the gardens? And there's kind of a pulse in the air. And Keening says, playback before anomalous signals were detected. And before you, the image kind of flickers and flashes, and suddenly all the gross stuff kind of recedes, kind of goes backward. And suddenly the interior of this place is just this picturesque area full of green fields and flowing rivers and copses of trees and just all sorts of, living things. It's beautiful. It's, picturesque. And then Keening says, play forward. and says, "Pinpoint on the first anomalous signal." And the view then zooms in really close, and you see a person, a humanoid-looking figure, standing at the base of the palace, and the person is just kind of staring up at the walls, and is just staring for a while, glaring up at it, fists tightening at the side. And then the figure just kind of screams, just yells and yells at the palace until they're out of breath and they collapse onto their knees. And then they from sort of just, screaming everything, taking a gasping breath afterwards, their hands come into view, and they're holding a rusty, putrid dagger that has just like almost covered in slime, and the back of it is kind of pulsing as if it's alive. And the figure looks down at it and stabs that dagger into their chest and falls backward, and very rapidly flesh just starts growing and spreading and just gobbling up all the beautiful plants and trees and everything around it, and it starts spreading very, very quickly. And before long, you're back to the gardens as you saw them, just covered in this corruption. And Keening says, "Well, there's your answer. There is no gardener. Not anymore. All that's left is his great work, filling the inside of the gardens and looking for ways to get out."
So, what do we do then?
There's no gardener. Is it the gardens that must go? Surely that can't be right.
Do we seek out a pair of magical hedge clippers?
Virgil, in your head, the word engines.
I'm gonna look to see if I see anything that fits that word before.
Yeah,
I
you've
utter
seen all
it.
sorts of things that look like the engine you saw beneath.
Okay.
It looks like there's scores of them that are sort of like filling the superstructure of this place.
Can I make my way to one?
I mean, you can go look at one as part of the projection, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look at it and just think, what would you have me do?
There isn't an answer.
Painting. This place has wards against the gardener's influence, yes?
It's like every other of the Archon's palace that has wards that prevent anyone from getting inside.
Can they be expanded?
No, but... well...
Could you push them past the edges of the palace itself?
Replicate them, perhaps? Is that too
I'm
far-fetched?
thinking use them as a phalanx to push back the corruption, contain it. This is a giant ring. If you expanded it in either direction and it cannot pass through, it would push it all into one point. You could isolate it in an inescapable place before destroying it.
Pull on the magical slip knot and tighten it, right?
Aye.
Maybe we should take a look at the engines in there, see what that's about.
We've heard that word before.
Keening says you've seen them. There was one below. Incredibly powerful things.
What are their purposes? What do they do?
In a word, everything. Whatever you want them to do.
So it don't
Think
make
of the most powerful magician you've ever seen. Think of the wisdoms. What can they do? They shape the ether to serve their purposes. They make it
The-
do things. They do work. Each engine is the same principle, but blown up 1,000-fold.
Not terrifying.
Well, it only makes sense that if there's something that we need to do, something like that will help us accomplish it, eh?
Keening says, there might be a way. We don't have to destroy. We just have to contain, like you said.
Aye. We cut this, keep it where it cannot grow, cut off access to this place, trap it here where it cannot go anywhere, and lock the door forever. Leave it no means of escape.
Can we
That
blow
was-
it up?
Why are we so certain that what's being made here is wrong?
Etienne
Well.
does the telltale, like, slow turn to Virgil. Are you serious?
It's made
Aye.
of human flesh, Virgil.
Not the worst thing we've seen.
They are the worst thing we've seen, markedly. What do you mean? Perhaps they're not so bad.
What I'm saying is, who are we to decide what gets to exist and what doesn't?
We've made it all the way here, and now you're growing a conscience about this. Suddenly. Out of fucking nowhere. What is this?
Eris says, you have to destroy it. If this gets out, that's the end. And look at what it's done to this place. If this gets on a world, there's no more world. It'll eat it all. It'll change it all.
If this even so much as looks at you, Diamond, it's gone.
Because the environment is so lovely as it is.
It's not, but there are people there that need to be protected.
Eris steps towards the projection and points to it, and she looks at Keening and she says, you say there are engines inside this thing. You say they're powerful. Well, certainly one of the things magic can do is blow things up. How do we blow up these engines? Just blast this whole damned thing out of the sky and then burn it all. And there's nothing left and the worlds are safe.
We have to make sure it's contained before we blow it.
And Keening responds to that. Side note to any aspiring DMs out there, try to avoid having it where you're talking to yourself all the time. It's awkward. But
God bless you.
Keening looks back at Eris and sort of says, I understand you're emotional, and at that, Eris just like rushes up to her and grabs her and is like, you don't know a damn thing about it. Don't you dare talk about them.
We can
And
have this conversation without putting hands on one another, please.
I'm okay with this development.
Keening says, I'm sorry, I don't mean to demean their sacrifice. But these engines are powerful. You care about the worlds. There are engines all over the worlds, all over the Daughters of Ashura. That was how it all worked. That's the reason these people can live on these worlds in the first place. It was engines that made it happen. There's millions of them, and they're dormant as far as I know, but they're still full of power. They're still full of potential, and they're all connected. That's how it worked. If you blow up the gardens, we don't know what will happen. For all we know, every other engine in the system could blow. She looks at the rest of you guys. I mean, the only way you Diamond is alive is because of the engines that are inside of it. Never mind how many people would die if they just exploded. The whole city, you couldn't feed them. You can't imagine what that would be like. And Eris says, you don't know that for sure. You're not an expert in this. You're just old. You're just a glaive. You're just a sword that got uppity. She says, no, I don't know this for certain. But I can tell you the one thing the Archon believed in most of all was control. And every portal, every void ship, she made sure there was a way she could close those doors and ground those ships. We don't have to blow them up, is what I'm saying.
Well, trust me, I don't want to be the one coming to the bird's defense, but honestly, we don't know anything. I don't think that we're going to know anything until we go and take a look at one of these engines, so we can at least be informed before we make any decisions.
Aye.
We need to have a plan, though.
I'm all for burning this thing, but explosions tend to scatter. And if any bit of this remains alive and is scattered somewhere we don't want it, it will make things trickier than they are now.
All I'm saying is that we're not going to blow it up by taking a look at it.
Keening, these engines, you say they're capable of great magics, yes?
They shaped the worlds.
Is this something any of us can do? Can any of us use the engines?
The closest anyone's come in, I don't even know how long, is your wisdoms. And
Do you know how?
fundamentally, all the wisdoms have figured out how to do is to push a button.
Do you know how to use them?
I haven't the faintest damned idea. I wasn't made for this. Truth be told, the Archon didn't know how to get the most from the engines, or at least she wasn't capable of doing it on her own. I mean, if you believe the histories, it was 1,000 people like her that came to this place and built the engines and shaped the worlds and built all of this. And they were each of them more powerful in the craft than all the wisdoms combined. But this is what I can tell you. Oracle, show us the security center. And the view of the projection zooms in to the palace. And at the very center, the tallest of all the spires, there is a very thin spindle running up. And then very high above is just this little like glass and metal room at the top. It's almost as if like a long shish kebab, and someone had just like speared one little thing and set it on top of the castle. It's this itty bitty thing. Keening points at that and says, there. We go there, this stone, and we have the same control over the gardens that the Archon herself would have. We go there, we tell all the portals to turn off, tell all the ships to be grounded. We tell the gardens themselves to shut down. I don't know if every system is still uncorrupted. I can't say what this plague has gotten to. I can't say that we can kill it this way, that we can contain it. There are only two ways on or off the gardens, and that's portals and ships. We can stop both of those. We can contain the outbreak. Eris is just kind of shaking her head at that,
Or we
saying
could
it's
just,
not good enough.
or we could just keep standing here and talking in circles for another hour.
GM, remind me, this is for player knowledge. Are we on a space station, right?
The Gardens is, the Gardens
Okay.
is basically like a colony.
It's like
yeah.
okay. It's like a space station, and it's orbiting a planet.
You were never quite clear what it was orbiting.
Okay.
From your view, if it was orbiting Ismene, or if it was also orbiting Thicatrix along with Ismene. But yeah, I mean, it's a big giant cylinder slowly rotating to generate gravity by centrifugal force. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're now currently on Enora, which is the world next in from Ismene.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to. This is a big idea, and I'm just trying to work through it. Because what's the star's name?
Ashura.
Ashra.
That's what I was thinking. Whoops.
So here, like, understanding that Eris is like frustrated, like, no, this needs to be destroyed. There's engines in Eudaimon. What if we contain it and we don't outright destroy it, but put it on the path for destruction? What if we give ourselves time and still ultimately end this? What if part of the commands would be to send the garden somewhere else?
Where?
Into Ashura?
Somewhere else, somewhere where it could be destroyed. That would give us time to get back to Eudaimon, to look at the engines, to try and determine if we can mitigate damage, or at least give us another option. That way we're not around for the destruction, but it still burns.
I like the idea. I like the idea more if it's definitive, where we're sending it rather than just out. Because then there's no guarantee it doesn't make its way back to us. Well, or some future generation of
I don't like the idea of just leaving it here with the doors locked. We weren't supposed to be able to make it here, and yet here we are.
Keening says, you were down among the sarcophagi, and you were in the presence of an engine. Did you have the faintest idea how you could even begin to interact with the thing? To have it do anything you wanted to do? These aren't just powerful. They're not just a more complicated spell. This is something fundamentally, constitutionally different.
You've just
way
been interacting
people-
with it by speaking. Can't we just do the same?
I've been addressing the Oracle, not the engine. That's a far simpler thing.
Point of order. Oracle. How do we drive the gardens away from orbit? Orbit?
Nothing happens.
Oracle.
says-
How do we affect the engine?
Keating says, it's not what an Oracle does.
It doesn't
Your
really use
wisdom,
that.
your wisdoms might find their way by the fickles of divination, but the Archon preferred sure things. Oracle is a seer, clairvoyant. She's showing us distant things, and we can see her memories. She doesn't answer questions. She doesn't know things.
Oracle, show me how to drive this fucking thing. Oh.
Oracle, can you show me how to get to the gardens?
Keening then says, the Oracle also only answers to the Archon, or person who can speak with the authority of the Archon.
Well, then, can you ask it? Since
You're not asking. You're not asking it visual questions, and in any case,
I asked it to show me how to drive the goddamn boat.
Oracle, show me Eudaimon. The image flashes away, and instead you see Eudaimon from over the top. Oracle, show me the Office of the Wisdom of Antiquities. You see the Office of the Wisdom of Antiquities. He's currently speaking to a group of reclaimers. And pointing at his big map.
Tell it to show us a manual of how to drive the fucking hell.
Wait a second. While it's looking at the wisdoms, I'm keying in to what they're having the reclaimers look for. Are they looking for the same thing we are?
Hard to tell because it's just visual. There's no audio.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're looking at the map, they look to be going in an entirely different direction than you were.
Okay. Look, we can keep playing what ifs all goddamn day. We can keep imagining scenarios and solutions, but until we take first action to at least look at the goddamn thing that we've got to manipulate.
What the fuck do you think I've been trying to do, cunt? I'm trying to find out how to drive the goddamn ship.
You're trying to have this thing show us something that it's not going to show us.
Tell it
And
the part
Kaning's-
of the gardens you want to see, and it will show you.
The helm, the steering wheel,
We know.
the
Listen,
gas pedal. I
We
think.
know nothing about the gardens. We know nothing about the engine. So let's just go.
I'd like to ask it, where is the control center?
Oracle, show us the control center of the gardens. You see a small room and just some sort of similar looking control panels to here, where they're kind of all made of like dark stone, and then out through glass windows further down, you can see the sort of shifting, twisting shapes of a very large engine.
Feel better?
Sort of. Does the control panel look like anything when we were trying to turn the lights on in the earlier place? Does
Yeah,
the
it's similar.
control
It
panel
looks-
look like that?
It looks similar to what's in front of you now, with like the control of the portals. Yeah.
Are there words on any of the buttons, or are they just clear blue stone buttons?
Everything's clear. Just
All right.
clear blank stone.
That looks like the room we came from earlier. Do you know how to drive one of these, given those controls?
Keening's kind of getting a little frustrated. Says, I can't tell you how to look at an engine for too long without losing your damn mind. Probably we can figure out how to blow them up. Beyond that, you could spend a lifetime. It's not just, they're not just more complicated. They're not just more powerful. They work on an entirely different set of rules. Nothing you know of magic is even in the same universe as these things. The way people talked about them, I never knew a person who, even the Archon was afraid of these things.
All right, we get it. The engines are basically gods. Wing it?
Yes.
Wing it? Anyone? Wing it? Shall we wing it and figure it out when we get
That's
there?
what I've been saying for the past 30 minutes, mate.
Wing it? All right, sounds grand. Let's wing it then. Without a plan, without a fucking idea how they
Well,
work,
You've got plenty of ideas.
without a fucking good one.
Keening says, none of you have asked about the book yet.
What, this one? And he
No.
holds
I don't
up-
think
holds up the book that he plucked from Virgil earlier.
Son of a
Yeah.
bitch. It's gonna snatch it back.
Etienne hadn't seen the book yet, but he'll do like a double take to Yvain, and then back at Virgil and Cass. Is that the book?
It was iBook.
Oracle, show us the Archon's library. And a room snaps into view. It's huge, and it's just full of bookshelves, stuffed to bursting. Lots of them spread out on tables. And Keening is sort of guiding the view by manipulating the stone in her hand. And then she zooms in on a table where a book is resting. And she says, "There." And it's the book you were sent to find.
Ah, fucking hell.
Can you zoom out from there, Keening, and show us where that is in relation to the security center?
She pulls back. And she says, "Oracle, show us the relative locations of the library and the security center." The view pulls back and you're seeing the whole castle, and then a bigger area kind of in the interior starts kind of like flashing, and then the little spindle on top starts flashing.
All right.
Keening
We need to-
says, "Oracle, where's the control room in relation to all of this?" And an area kind of in the bowels of the station starts glowing, but it's like directly underneath the castle.
Fuck.
All right. Here's how I see it. It's a loose plan. I'm not going to say it's a good one. We go to the palace, yeah? We arrive. We get inside. We have 2 locations that we must reach. The security center and the library. If we can go to the library first, I think we go to the security center. We cut off traffic to anything so we don't expect any visitors coming and ruining our plans.
Presuming there aren't visitors waiting in the hallways, we segregate.
Right. Correct, but we start there. We cut off the garden. We make a quick trip up to the library, pack our bags, and we get off this rock. If we have time or we get enough information, we can make our way to the command center. But I imagine that best case scenario at this point in time is to just lock this down so it cannot spread. I won't sleep well at night. Not that I do anyways. But I think it might be the best we can do.
It's a plan.
Keening says, "Oracle, where is the Archon's private portal?" And the view goes back to the library where you're looking at the book, and it just kind of rotates to the side. And there's just a portal sitting in one side of the library.
So we could leave directly from there. Yeah, that's your meaning, Keening?
That's where we have to enter.
Direct into the library. Convenient.
She was fond of books.
Etienne's then going to turn to Eris and look at her. I know this isn't the victory that you believed your friends died for. It's certainly not the one that they had imagined. But it'd be a victory nonetheless.
Eris shakes her head. It's a stalemate. It's not good enough.
No.
It's not what they deserve. You're letting your fear get the better of you.
It is not fear, though I understand it might seem that way.
Let's just get over there and get this done with.
I would like to make a gesture at Eris in the scan to see if she recognizes me.
Okay.
It basically says, "I need to talk to you."
She exactly, that's exactly it. No, she just kind of looks at you, and then she's staring back very intently at the projection, which is still is now back to the view of the palace, and the 3 indicated areas are glowing. And Keening just kind of points the stone at a portal, and it flashes alive. And she says, "Shall we?"
About freaking time, I say. Let me jump right in.
Voice in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get through, be ready. This will happen quickly.
It's like as soon as I walk into the portal, I've got Worm Fang out and an arrow knocked in it.
Okay, portal's open. Who's going through first?
It sounds
little,
like
and little Chris is right behind you. Let's not forget little Chris. He's still around.
Mhm.
Little Chris.
Little Chris.
Little tiny
He
Chris.
became a rapper during our
Little
break.
Chris. Yeah.
Okay. You
Come
go
on,
through the portal.
Justin. Don't want to be the last one in.
How big is a griffin?
per dang.
Pretty dang.
I mean,
yeah.
it counts as a mount.
They are large.
It's the same as the horse.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're
The
one.
portal's big enough to fit a large-sized creature through.
Okay. That's good.
So Eris is going to be the last one through, unless anyone well, actually, Keening has to be the last one through because of the stone, but Eris is going to wait. She's just staring at the thing, the projection still.
I think Etienne will linger at Eris's side for a moment. There's a subtle difference between vengeance and hate. Same as there is between fear and hope. And he will then turn and walk towards the portal and look at Yvain and kind of nod to her like, let's get through. And like the sense of like, I have something to say to you. And once we get to the other side, because it's probably going to be totally chill.
She will take that cue and follow.
Okay. So then it's just the two of them last. So on the other side, you guys are going to the portal. Again, it's kind of disorienting and feels weird the way it has before, but this time everyone keeps their lunch and mostly keeps to their feet, but there's a little bit of vertigo when you get to the other side. You pop out one by one into this library. And immediately notice how kind of old and stale the air smells. As if no one has been in here and nothing has disturbed this spot in a very long time. And then Eris pops out the portal, and last of all, Keening comes through, and then the portal winks out once she's through. And now here you be in the library.
The second we come through, given that we've already seen the visuals and we know where that book is,
Yeah.
Etienne would be, as quickly as possible, gesturing at Yvain to go get the book, and moving as quietly as he can, because he's a big chunky boy, following close behind to keep her safe.
Okay.
Absolutely going to look for the book.
Eris is kind of off by herself, and she kind of stumbles over a pile of books that fall and make a bunch of noise. And she kind of just stands there and sulks and kind of just walks over and around. She's kind of wandering through the space.
Do I hear anything once I cross the portal?
Not yet.
I think just because he's a little paranoid right now, I would like to, once I cross over, quickly stealth away.
Okay.
That is the club. 27 on the spell.
Good
Okay.
night.
Don't think anyone will be perceiving you.
And like I just want to get myself to a vantage point where I can scope the party, but not be seen.
So Yvain grabs the book, and it's written. The title on the front is written in Drax, so now you know what it says. And you can open it up and flip through the pages. It's just a book, pretty ordinary looking. It is a manual for the operation of water purification. The language is very technical, so a lot of that's over your head because it talks about different kinds of devices and etheric processes and so on. But it's very clearly a book about how to purify water. And there's kind of a moment of, this is what you came for. Now you got it. And it's just kind of a book, nothing special to it.
I think she would kind of be taken aback by that, just like holding the book like. Okay. Guess that's it then. Fantastic.
As she's kind of looking at the book, Etienne would look around. I don't know. Did you follow us to look for the book?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're just gonna do it. Etienne would walk over to Yvain, and he seems a bit rushed, like, and a little bit on edge. And he'll look at you, Yvain. I'd like to give you something. And hold his hand out like this to like drop something in your hand.
Yeah, sure.
You keep the dead.
Always.
He will then drop into your hand the signet ring, and quickly close your fingers around it. His like hands kind of pressing your fingers into it, like he doesn't want to let go of it. I think you might be the best of us, and I think you might be the only one that makes it out of this. Take her home to your diamond, please.
I will, but because you will be right there by my side. I hope you know that. My job here is to ensure that.
Right enough. And he'll let your hands go, and like you'll notice that he is visibly nervous as he does. Like he's even still staring at your hand, like he does not want that to be out of his hands. Before turning and looking to Cass. We should make our way to the security center quickly. Time is of the essence.
Yvain's just gonna very quickly, like, take one of the massive sleeves that is just adorning her arm and, like, very quickly expose the tattoos that are wrapped all around her, and kind of just set the ring on top of her skin, and, like, a thorn will kind of manifest itself from the tattoo and just wrap itself around the ring and just cling it to her arm, for extra security.
Onward then.
So Virgil,
Wait.
little voice in the back of your head.
Hmm?
It's distant, it's quiet, it's faint. But it says back and to the left. A red book. And behind you, there's huge bookshelves. And lots of books of many different colors, many of them red. But as you're looking, one of them immediately draws your eye and seems to have almost a kind of glowing aura around it.
I'm going to pick that up and give it a quick peruse.
So when you pull on the book,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually come out, it's attached. But as you pull it, a mechanism activates. There is a rush of energy, and you are standing suddenly in a large and well-adorned, multi-roomed private quarters. And everything is impossibly luxurious. Everything is silk and gold, and it's all just the room you appear in is sort of just like almost like a huge dining room. But looking away, and it's all kind of an open floor plan, so there's no doors. So you look one way through an archway, and there's just like a big bedroom, and there's the walls are just as you're looking at them, they show images of different worlds. It appears to be, and you see other rooms that it's just incredible amounts of luxury. But immediately there's one door that draws your attention, and without saying anything, the voice doesn't say anything, but you know you're supposed to go to that door.
Oh yeah, I'm making my way there immediately. But did I
Real
get
quick-
anything from? Did I like pick up a name of what the book is from just taking a quick look at it?
It was entirely unlikely.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Now, real quick, everyone else who's back in the library can roll perception.
17.
24.
22.
Okay, Cass and Yvain notice that Virgil is gone. But hold that thought real quick. Back to Virgil. You go to that door. You put there's no clear way to open it. There's no knob. There's no anything. And the voice in your head kind of ethereally forms the words saying, "Speak my name."
Easy enough. Zacatia.
The door opens. And inside, it's a remarkably plain and unadorned room. It's barely bigger than a closet. But in the center is a console like the other command areas you've seen before. And it's just rising up, and there is just this, the flat sort of spherical top. And you're urged to go forward. And the as you approach, that glowing bit starts that smooth bit starts glowing with soft alternating white and blue light.
Before I approach that, have the doors I opened been left open behind me?
You literally like phased through. You teleported
Okay.
into a new space.
Oh, awesome. Okay, in that case,
In fact, yeah, the first thing you would have done would have been like look behind you, and you're just like it's just in a whole other room. There's no
hell yeah. Then I'm approaching that light.
Okay. And you can feel the Archon's presence in your mind, and it's almost as if she's reaching through you to grab your hand and place it on the console. And you can resist, you can go with it.
Oh, hey, as soon as I feel that, I'm going with it.
Okay. Your hand rests on the console, and all of a sudden, it is burning, sharp, stinging pain as light is erupting up through the console. And you can like it seems for a moment as if your whole hand is going to be just completely blasted away, and you're sent flinging back and kind of thrown, and you collide into the walls leading into this little closet, and you're on the ground and you're holding your hands close, and it's all like burned and charred. You can see the bones inside. You could never use this hand again. It's totally ruined, and it's just in screaming, shrieking pain. But even as you're looking at it, the medallion around your neck starts pulsing, and with every pulse, there's little tendrils of and little motes of white fire run over your hand. With every iteration, flesh is fixed and closed, skin grows back, and a cooling sensation goes over you. And within a matter of a minute, your hand is fine. And that console is glowing brightly. And the Archon's voice tells you, "It is done. Rejoin your friends. Nothing else that happens in this place matters. The work has begun."
I am immediately going to see if I can find my way. Well, before I do that, I am going to look.
So while he tries to loot this place, you all just saw Virgil disappear. Well, you didn't see Virgil disappear. It's just you look around and suddenly there's no Virgil.
Oh, fuck. Where's he gone
Why?
to now?
Just why?
I've stopped asking that question long ago, Yvain. I'm sure he has his reasons.
What are you talking about?
Virgil's missing.
Now you see that, Virgil's not there.
We should
Of course
continue on
he is.
anyways.
I've got this fucking thing. It's just how to purify water. Very beyond my understanding, but here it is.
That seems
Etienne's-
useless.
Etienne's kind of like with them, but looking around, trying to like orient himself to leave before turning back to them. I'm going to head to the security center. Are you going to wait for him to decide? Or
I'm coming with you. If he wants to pop off and go do his own jolly thing, let him do it.
Etienne nods and will look at Cass. I don't mean to put you in the middle. I know that this is a challenge. Do what's right for you. There's no judgment here.
I'll come with you. Hold on. And he'll put his hand on the ground, and he'll cast prestidigitation and just leave like an image on the floor that says "went to security room," and an arrow pointing in the direction that we went.
Everybody roll perception.
I'm not good at it.
If he comes
22.
back, he'll know where to go.
21, I crit.
You're so cute.
When my dumb boy does really good, I'm so proud of him.
He best.
16.
16. You all hear the sounds of doors being broken down. And some distant, but perhaps getting nearer, groaning sounds and the sounds of lumbering movement.
Ah, shit.
What the fuck is that?
Should find a way to get outside so we don't have to fight in hallways.
Mhm.
And at that, and you also will notice that for a minute or so, Eris has just been standing there holding her bow, muttering softly to herself. And then she looks up and in Elven says, "I am your vengeance." And
Ooh.
she runs towards a door.
Um,
Fuck, wait.
And she's
before
very fast.
before Etienne can get any words out, he will see the direction she's running and follow suit in his very fast robot fashion, pulling his sword and shield as he does.
Give me an intelligence check.
Okay, just intelligence, not like I don't know,
Just
maybe some
intel-
history.
Okay.
Just intelligence. I mean, I suppose it is your
No.
personal history, but
Okay, I'm scared. I credit it's a 20.
you
I'm the
realize
police.
doing it.
you realize that she's heading in the direction of the control room.
Fucking
Not the
hell.
security room, but the control room.
Fucking hell. Shit. Yeah, I think Etienne's still gonna follow.
Okay.
Like trying to catch up.
So as she's approaching a door, all of a sudden there is a rippling like field in front of it that appears, and she comes kind of skidding to a stop. And if you look back, you'll see Keening holding out her hand. And she'll say, "Look, I'm not going to tell you what you can or can't do. Once the lockdown goes into effect, the only way off this place is with this stone. And I'm going that way." Eris is just, fuming back at her. Just,
Yeah. Etienne. Fuck. Etienne's like, if she stopped, I imagine I catch up pretty quickly. He'll see that she's got her stopped. Here are the words. He is gonna just grab Eris's like tunic, cloak, or whatever, and like make her look at him and kind of raise her up a little bit, and like not intending to be as menacing as he is, but just yell like at her, "Is this what they would have wanted? Huh?" And he's gonna like lift her up a little bit higher. "For you to die and have it mean nothing. Is that what they gave their lives for? For you to just be angry and hate everything?" And he'll raise her a little bit more. "Is that what their lives meant?"
They gave their lives so this would end. One way or another, I'm going to end it.
"And if you can't?" "And if you can't?"
At least I'll die trying. At least I'll see them soon. And Keening lowers her hand so the field goes away. And she says to her, "Do what you have to do."
Etienne will kind of lower her down and push her away a little bit. Before looking at Keening and just shrug.
Eris looks back at you guys all briefly and says, "Worst case, I'll buy you some time." And then she goes off down the hallway. Virgil, meanwhile, if you start going towards anything, the voice forms in your head much more clearly now and says, "The wards are lowered. You don't have time."
As you will. And then I will look for an exit.
Yeah, you basically just go back to the spot where you showed up, and then just kind of you pop in the library just in time to see Eris running off down a hallway. A bunch of people sort of standing around, looking very dramatic, and you're just poof there.
Well, it looks like she's in a mighty hurry.
Hey, everybody, Virgil's back.
Etienne's
Well,
making
rough.
for the security center. I understand that there's big scary sounds, but that means big scary monsters. So
Yeah, and
let's
those sounds are
fucking
getting a
go.
lot closer. You hear big, loud, shrieking noises, as if they know you're here and they're coming for you specifically and moving quickly. So Keening says, "I suggest we get a move on." And she starts walking that way.
With haste.
Are we leaving?
Yeah.
There's only one entrance and one point of egress from this place, right?
Keening said you had to arrive at that portal.
Okay.
She doesn't seem to be bothered by the fact that you're leaving this behind.
So how does it look when are we running down the same hall that like
Different hall.
Eris
so
went
we-
through? Okay.
We came in through a portal into the library. There's multiple exits out of the library. We're
Got it.
headed to the security center, which is like the main floor, and she's headed down like deeper into the chasms. Chasms.
Okay.
Chasmy chasms.
So I take it we're leaving Eris to die then.
Etienne's already like, he's already gone. He's doing the thing.
Yeah, Keening would say, "You're welcome to go after her," while continuing forward.
You love that, wouldn't you? I'm just gonna follow them.
So you all, what's happening is you're going down, and as Keening is approaching these doors, they're just swinging open as she approaches, and she goes down a series of them, making very purposeful, direct. She's power walking. She's getting through there. Some of you guys probably have to do like a light jog to keep up because she does move 40 feet around.
Hey, me too.
Everyone else has to keep a light jog, keep up. But then she ends up going eventually to like a heavily barricaded, closed up door. And it takes a moment for like all these like mechanisms to unlock and unwind for this. And then the whole thing kind of ends up sort of spiraling away, kind of as if the door is kind of made of like interlocking metal shards, just kind of shink open. And she walks onto what looks to be kind of a platform and waves for all of you to hurry up and follow.
No hesitation.
Yeah, I'm in there.
By the way, behind you guys, if anyone looks back, you start seeing like those monsters, some of the smaller ones, and they are running. They are very, very eager to get to you, and they're just running after
Etienne
you.
will
Christ.
yell at Keening. I thought you said this place had wards.
It did.
How big are the halls that we're running down?
I mean, they're pretty wide. I don't know. I'm really bad at dimensions, but like pretty big. Oh, and your griffin can fit it. That's the worry.
That I'm more worried about how many of these can come down a hallway at once.
Let's not find out.
They
Like I
could
see them
probably-
off in the distance. Are they like flooding the hallway?
the
climbing
ones
over
that the
each
ones
other?
that are medium sized could probably stand 6 abreast, and
Oh, so this is a bit. This is like a hangar-sized hallway.
it's big.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I jump on Justin's back.
Yes.
And he
'Cause-
like starts to flap because he's gonna move a lot faster than I can.
So I'm assuming everyone hurries up onto the platform with Keenan
Mhm.
and doesn't try to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at a certain point, Keenan puts out her hand and projects a wall of force. And then once everyone's on the platform, she turns the stone in her hand and the doors lock close and it starts rising. And pretty quickly, you are inside of like a glass tube. And so you can see all around as you're rising up and up and up out of the castle. And what you see from the outside is that these things are just swarming all over the castle. They're like the really, really big crab dudes are like grabbing the little gribblies and literally just like throwing them over the walls, while
Yikes.
medium-sized guys are kind of like scaling up, and they're just completely swarming over this place. Like within minutes, the whole thing is going to be completely packed and full. And the elevator is going pretty quick. I mean, this whole, the gardens are huge, so like it's taking you a while to lift up and up and up. And as you're going up, you start feeling the strangest thing, which is you start feeling lighter and lighter, and it's weird, and it's lighter, and it almost feels like you're falling even though you're rising. And as you get up towards the apex of this thing, and as you slow as you approach to the security center, you're all now floating inside this place.
Cool.
And eventually the thing comes to a stop, and you kind of go up into another superstructure, so then the view fades away, and then the whole thing comes to a stop, and it's dark inside. And then there's a pulse of light from the stone in Keening's hand, and some lights in front of you kind of illuminate around on the side of the door. The doors swing open, and you step out into a fairly large room with, well, not really step out, you kind of float out. And as lights come alive, you start to see all sorts of those control panels, all the same design you've seen before, where it's kind of like just smooth stone, all of it sort of nondescript. But it would appear you have reached the control center, the security center.
Now what? Now what? Wait, what do we do here now? We have a book that tells us how to purify fucking water and unlabeled buttons. What's next?
Etine will take up by the door to hold guard and look back at Keening.
Keening has, she's just kind of standing there for a second. She's got her eyes closed, her hands at her side, she's in concentration. And then when she opens her eyes, she just kind of starts, she's moving. She's like she's staying perfectly still, but she just starts moving, as if something pushed her a little bit. And she just kind of like gives herself a little push and she floats forward. And then she's kind of floating over the control panels. And she's looking around, and she's looking quite intently at everything. As far as you can tell, it's all just blank, nondescript. It's almost like the same, couple, half dozen different things repeated hundreds of times across. But she eventually stops over one particular area and just kind of presses her hand to one of those glowing thingies. Presses her hand to another one. And then an area in front of her flashes alive, and a whole bunch of Drax text starts appearing. And it says, return protocol active. All wards disabled. And then and Keening stops and looks at that, and then looks over at Virgil, just kind of knowingly, before going back and pressing more of the things and twisting and turning.
If she does give me a knowing look, I am gonna wink at her.
Okay. And then as she does, then the text says lockdown in effect, and then there's a number, and that starts counting down. And the number started at 90, but it's counting down pretty fast. And then Keening very quickly does some more adjustments. And she says, everybody hold on. And then there's a kind of flickering around you, a weird kind of tightness in the air. And all of a sudden you are pressed down under the ground with a force about what you're used to and what you've grown up with, and you can walk around. And then there is the lift where you came in, and you can sort of see inside of now. There is a ball of light that appeared, and it's starting to glow and glow and glow, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all at once, little tendrils shoot out from that ball of light and latch onto each of you, the center of your chests, and grabs on you, and you're just immediately held, paralyzed, and can't move, and you're just power surging through you, which was very, very strange. It grabs the Griffin, it grabs little Chris, and it almost looks like for a second it's going to miss Virgil, but then it latches onto him and grabs him tight. And then there is a giant flash of light, ringing in your ears. There is a long period of it feels similar to the portal, but almost like more raw and direct exposure to whatever's going on. And you find yourselves suddenly in a dark, dry, cold little room. And you are resting against grated flooring. You see there are bits of light in the air. None of these portals are active, but there's little bits of light glowing around, and it's as if there's some big web of interweaving light above you that is very rapidly coming apart. And you're all feeling disoriented and it takes you a minute. It's hard to get to your feet. You've all there's a bit of a feeling like you've all got a bit of a hangover and all feel a little bit like you just lost a fight. But you're here, you're alive, you're whole. Keening gets over the effects a little faster than everyone else. She stands up and kind of brushes herself off and says, well, welcome home.
Pardon?
That's the end of session 9.
Fuck.
The fuck?
Come back next week for the
What
exciting
the
conclusion.
Hey, did I fuck us? I feel like I fucked us.
I thought we were all gonna die in space. I ain't
Should've
gonna
burnt your
lie.
whole fucking hand off, you fucking monster, you fucking bastard. Fucked us all, fucked us real good.
Hey, the Archons will be done, motherfucker.
Oh my god.
Well, you both have bleep buttons.
It's my favorite thing.
It's probably a good idea, all things considered.
Hey,
Um,
Bright, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing.
Excellent.
but yes, come back next week for the exciting conclusion. Episode 10, Only the City Remains.
Oh god, I hate it.
Hey, it turns out the Sword of the Archon was the friends we made along the way.
Man!
Virgil, don't
you
make
with that
friends.
noise. You, the Archon is everything. Fuck every fucking.
Her will be fucking done, motherfuckers. I don't give a about none of you motherfuckers.
Watch your fucking mouth.
Amazing.
You're too much, man.
Eat my lips.
Can't.
Suck my.
Oh,
Go around the fucking horn and tell people where they can fucking find you so you can fuck off.
Cool.
Am I going fucking first, motherfucker?
yes.
In my head, I like to
And
imagine
hurry.
they're saying, like, things like, "Am I walking first? Let's have a bake off."
Hello,
Let's have
everybody.
a bake off.
Self-censor.
I'm Noir Enigma. You can find me all over the fucking internet as the Noir Enigma. That's fucking Twitch, fucking Twitter, Instagram, and fucking my website, thenoirenigma.com. Buy my shit. I'm fucking poor.
Hi, hello. Yes, I think that's me next. I am Ozark Franco. I played Etienne Durand. I had a lovely time doing it. If you like my face and the words I say sometimes, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, all the places at Osiris Franco. I do a variety of TTRPG content here on Bright's channel and across several other amazing communities. The next time you can see me doing the thing is going to be tomorrow, actually, with Noir, as we play You're in Space and Everything's Fucked. A little one shot. It should be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I'm gonna be a scientist. Oh. So come check that out. Also, Power Beyond is returning over at the Nation of Joe's channel on Tuesday, which is really exciting. So check that out as well. And yeah, that's all I have. Give Noir money, please.
Do it. I'm fucking poor.
You know, that could have been a title for this session, really.
Give more
Give
money.
Noir money.
No, you're in space and everything is fun.
Your
Oh,
space and everything's fucked.
I
Mhm,
prefer
mhm.
to give Noir money one. But
The subtitle. Is
Ash.
it? Wait. Oh yeah,
It
it's
is,
my
yeah.
turn. Hey, hi, I'm Ash. I go by Ash and Rabbit here on Twitch and all over the internet. You can find me here for a lot of things, including next week for the finale of The Reclaimers, Monday for Ash and Mondays. I will be doing, what am I doing? Tomorrow, Tenements of the Great Rift over on Dat Magic Juice's channel. Yay, more D&D. Woo! And I kind of am online, but I'm not at the same time. I'm here and then I'm not. So find me places, I guess. I don't know.
Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh. Come back next week where you can find out where all this nonsense has been going.
my inevitable death. And if
Oh,
you're here, you
nice.
know who I am. I'm Bright. Thanks for coming. Stay strange. Don't be a fucking stranger. Bye.
Oh, I just not.